Welcome to the Rare History Channel. 10 Weird Facts about Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the man who created Sherlock Holmes. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, creator of the brilliant detective Sherlock Holmes, led a robust life worthy of the pages of his fiction. He embarked on daring journeys to the Arctic and the Alps, investigated crimes, and though his most famous character is the paragon of rational thinking, staunchly believed in fairies and spirits. Here are 10 facts about this fascinating, complicated author. Fact number 1. He spoke with spirits. Doyle was a big believer of spiritualism, the belief that the living can communicate with the dead, so much so that he wrote several books and articles on the topic and even went on a tour to promote his beliefs. He also claimed to have spoken with the spirits of well-known men, such as Joseph Conrad, Cecil Rhodes, and Earl Haig. Spiritualism was so important to him that he even wished to be remembered for his work communing with spirits rather than his literary accomplishments. Basically, he was a late 19th century version of Alan Moore. Number 2. He hated Sherlock Holmes. Doyle came to detest his most beloved creation. He tried to make a name for himself in other areas, such as spiritualism, in an effort to move on from the detective. The author even went so far as to kill off Sherlock Holmes in the story The Final Problem, much to his fans' dismay. He wrote the following about his feelings for the character: "I think of slaying Holmes in the sixth and winding him up for good and all, and I am in the middle of the last Holmes story, after which the gentleman vanishes, never to return. I am weary of his name." It's said that after the story was published, fans of the character wore black armbands to symbolize their mourning, and one woman was so upset that she reportedly attacked Doyle with an umbrella. Over 20,000 people cancelled their subscription to the Strand and many sent in angry letters. Doyle finally gave in to his angry fans and brought Holmes back in the story The Empty Hearse. Victorian-era fandom at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. Number 3. He went out like a classy boss. Doyle's death was so dramatic, it might as well have been written in a Sherlock Holmes story. He had been struggling with heart problems for a while, and he died from a heart attack at the age of 71. He was in his garden and reportedly collapsed while holding a flower in one hand and clutching his heart with the other. His wife was with him at the time, and his last words were directed to her. Flower still in hand, he told her, "You are wonderful. If that doesn't make you choke up a little, you should seek medical attention." Number 4. He was frenemies with Harry Houdini. The two men met in 1920 and became fast friends. Later, the two had a falling out when Doyle and his family hosted a séance to contact Houdini's mother. After his mother's passing, Houdini attempted to contact his mother through mediums, but quickly realized that the people conducting these séances were frauds. Like a good friend, Houdini partook in one more séance with Doyle, even though he had his doubts. The session was led by Doyle's daughter, who was supposedly a gifted medium. She contacted Houdini's mother and produced 15 pages of notes from the illusionist's mother. Unfortunately, the 15 pages were written in English, a language Houdini's mother did not know. Also, his mother made no mention of the fact that the séance took place on her birthday. Houdini shared his doubts with Doyle, but the author held fast to his belief that they had contacted the women. Their friendship never recovered. Number 5. He and author George Bernard Shaw had a public fight about the Titanic. Shaw, the author of Pygmalion, the play which was adapted into the film My Fair Lady, had a very heated disagreement with Doyle about the Titanic. About a month after the sinking of the ship, Shaw published an article titled Some Unmentioned Morals, in which he criticized the press for an explosion of outrageous romantic lying regarding the heroics of those on the ship. For example, many witnesses said that the captain of the ship was seen going down with the vessel, ever the sign of a good captain. Shaw argued, however, that not enough coverage of the incident examined facts, such as why the captain was speeding through an area he knew to be populated by icebergs. It was sort of their version of 9/11 truthers. In response to the article, Doyle said, "It is a pitiful sight to see a man of undoubted genius using his gifts in order to misrepresent and decry his own people." Number 6. He believed in fairies. Like thousands of others, Doyle came to believe in the existence of fairies after seeing the Cottingley Fairies pictures, a series of photographs which provided proof that fairies existed. He spent millions of pounds, not fairy dollars, circulating this proof that fairies existed and even wrote a book on the subject called The Coming of the Fairies. It was later revealed that the pictures were manipulated. The young girls who took the pictures admitted that the fairies in the so-called evidence were actually paper cutouts. So much for his deductive abilities. Number 7. You can thank him for the Jurassic Park sequel. While Doyle is best known for penning the Sherlock Holmes stories, he's also written works in other genres. Mostly, it's a lot of historical fiction, but he also, amazingly, wrote a book about dinosaurs titled The Lost World. Hang on, you might be thinking. Isn't that the title of another, wildly popular book about dinosaurs? Michael Crichton, author of Jurassic Park, has said that the title of his novel is in homage to Doyle's book of the same name. Also, like Doyle's book, Crichton's novel focuses on an expedition to an isolated island populated with dinosaurs. He was ahead of his time, that Doyle. Number 8. He was a trained medical doctor. Despite being a gifted writer and creating one of the most recognizable and beloved characters of all time, Doyle didn't actually study writing, at least not in a traditional sense. Doyle enrolled in medical school at the University of Edinburgh. During his third year at university, he took a post as a surgeon on a whaling ship. After receiving his degree, he opened his own practice in London, but business was slow going. As the author notes in his autobiography, every morning I walked from the lodgings at Montague Place, reached my consulting room at 10 and sat there until 3 or 4, with never a ring to disturb my serenity. Good thing he took up fiction instead of, like, opium or something. Number 9. He was knighted for writing war propaganda. Many people believe that Doyle became Sir Arthur Conan Doyle for creating Sherlock Holmes, but the author was actually knighted for his involvement in the Boer War. Even though he wasn't able to enlist because of his age, he was 41 years old at the time, he still contributed to the war effort by writing British propaganda regarding the war. His pamphlet, which put forth the plight of the British, swayed conscientious objectors to support the war. In 1902, King Edward VII knighted him for it. Number 10. He popularized skiing. While living in Switzerland, Doyle took up skiing, still a pretty obscure sport in the 19th century. He brought attention to the sport after publishing a feature article about it in Strand magazine, the publication in which the Sherlock Holmes stories appeared. He wrote, "You have to shuffle along the level, to zigzag, or move crab fashion, up the hills, to slide down without losing your balance, and above all to turn with facility." With that ringing endorsement, people in England went crazy for the snow sport.